Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the shop. We are Bruce and Krista, and this is our 2013 Mitsubishi Fuso FG. We are converting it into an overland camper. The next step for us is insulating the floor. Are you ready?
Yep.
So to insulate the floor, we're going to be using 2-inch thick styrofoam, and this comes in 4x8 sheets. So we have to cut these sheets to fit in the holes on the floor. We have 21 different holes on the floor in here. So the first thing to do is go through and measure each one front and back, and then we can transfer those dimensions onto the styrofoam and cut it out. Now, two of these squares are going to be smaller, and that's because those are underneath the shower. They're a thinner styrofoam, so we'll leave those two out until the very end.
After some initial struggles with my imperial tape measure, Krista has switched to her metric tape measure. Metric is so much easier.
Now, with doing all this work in metric, we're going to start out by marking this sheet at 629, which is just over 24 inches. I'm going to make that mark over here, and slice that off, and that's going to make the first two pieces. They're not exactly the same size, but the combination of the two pieces works out to the width of the sheet.
The least messy way that I've found to easily cut these sheets is using a box cutter with a fresh blade. Keeping it on a very low angle and doing multiple passes seems to make the cleanest cut and the least amount of mess.
Now, I don't know how much I'm actually going to believe the labeling, but this stuff, which I just recently purchased at about 2.5 times the price of this stuff, which I purchased about 3 years ago, this is a 2-inch white styrofoam, foil covered, and it's rated at R10. This is a 2-inch foil covered white styrofoam, and it's rated at R7.5. Do I really think there's a difference? No. Was there a cost difference for that extra 3R? Yeah, absolutely. Do we really think it's going to need to have that high rating in the truck floor? No. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put the higher rated stuff down the center of the truck, which will be the walking floor, and is more likely to have, if it's cold outside, that's where we're going to feel it. Down the sides, I'll put the 7.5, which is going to be inside seat boxes, benches, and underneath the kitchen. One of the things that we do have to do with all of these pieces is bring them in from the back and push them underneath the lip created by all the cross frames. Not a big deal. Luckily, we don't have the spare tire back wall in, so this one can actually come through from inside here. Otherwise, it might have been a little difficult. So these pieces here, they may actually need a little bit of trimming on the top to fit underneath before they'll actually slide under. This is a 2-inch piece of box tube that we're fitting into with a 2-inch deep pan, but we're losing 1/8 of an inch on the top because of the frame. Now, this isn't quite 2 inches, so I was a little bit hopeful that they just slide in. I got which way around that is. So the width, we've got cut to the right amount. I may have to do some trimming to actually get them to slide under. Let's see if we can get that front piece to come in. This is the lip that I'm talking about here. And it looks to me like maybe in the middle, if the floor is bowed down a little bit, it would slide under. I think I'm actually going to have to take a very thin 1/8 inch thick slice off here to get this to actually slide underneath here. Once that slides under, the back will just drop in and we'll be flush with the top of this.
The notch for the frame flange is 1.5 inches back from the edge, which is the same size as my square. It's an 1/8 inch deep, although having it a little deeper makes it slightly easier to fit. Though the foam board and the box tube are not the same depth, the finished assembly comes out to being the same thickness for a flat floor. The tighter these panels fit in, the better, so having to press them in for a final fit is perfect. Being that this is intended to insulate, we want to completely seal off the airspace in the insulation area. So for this, we are taping all the seams with aluminum foil tape. This works well with the foil-backed insulation and the aluminum framework. Taping is a pretty simple job, but that said, it's a lot of bent over hand and knee work, so although it isn't physically hard work, it does get pretty tiring.
As I suspect you can probably tell from the frequent changes of clothes, this is taking place over a couple of days. And that's nice because in the evenings, I can come out here and start working on things. And when I leave off, Krista can come out here during the day while I'm at work and continue on. Today, during the day, Krista was taping all the board seams together, but she's run out of tape. I bought some more tape on the way home. So I'm going to continue taping the seams, cut the last 3 pieces in the front, and that should be it for the floor. Now, taping the insulation really is pretty simple. This is 2-inch wide tape. The box tube is 2 inches wide, so we offset by about half, and that gives us about 1 inch of tape on the aluminum box tube and 1 inch of tape on the insulation. Pretty easy to do nice long strips all at the same time. I'm not actually going to cut this tape. I'm going to run it all the way across. The most difficult part about using this tape is actually peeling the backing off. And there's a little bit of a trick that I can get sometimes to work. And I'll try and get a close-up of what I'm doing here up in the corner of the video there. But basically the foil side of this and the paper side of this don't have the same flexibility. So you use that to your advantage to kind of crinkle the foil and get the paper to separate from it. Once you get it started, what I like to do is fold it back like that, lay this down where we want it to be so it's in a straight line. We know it's going in the right direction. Stick the end down, and once the end is stuck down, lift up behind it and just start peeling the backing off and sticking it down. One thing that you do need to be careful with using this foil tape is that it is very thin, it is metal, and it will cut you if you slide it along the edge of it. Kind of like a paper cut, but coming from aluminum. So be careful, it can be very sharp. You may want to wear gloves. Typically I don't, but I do get a cut on my fingers once in a while. So again, the reason I'm not tearing this in the middle is because you saw how long it took me to get the backing to start peeling off. The fewer times I need to do that, the less time it takes to run across. So getting it stuck and then pushing it down, I am going to tear it here and just shift it back because I want to come to this edge here. And I think I'm going to move the camera because I'm probably just about out of frame. How about this? There we go. So when I tear it here, I'm actually not going to tear both layers. I've already peeled the backing off here. I'm just going to tear that, and then I'm just going to move over a bit because I'm not trying to get halfway on this one. I'm getting anywhere on it. So we'll shift this over a little bit because there's not another piece here. So I'll do the same thing when I get to the wall. I'll peel the backing off farther away from where I'm going so I don't have to get that corner off again. This tape, if you peel a big section of the backing off and let it stick to itself, you will never recover the tape from it. You just crumple that piece up and throw it in the garbage. This tape is so thin that if you get a piece of the backing stuck the wrong way, just toss it and throw again. Toss it and throw again. Toss it and start again. What I'm going to do here to move to the next piece is tear this off with the end still showing. I can get rid of this paper, get it out of my way, and I've already got the backing peeled for the next piece that I start. Last two outer panels. This one's a little tight fit. That's what you want. One piece left. Last piece. So my hope here is that A, this is the right size and shape. Let's go that way. Nice little drop in. All I've got left now is taping across. And that should wrap up everything in the floor. Now, I will say, I did notice a difference in cutting between this newer, higher R-rated foam than the outer stuff. So even though they're both a 2-inch white foam foil back insulation, this one is definitely harder to cut, and from that I'm going to make the assumption more dense. I haven't weighed it. So maybe it does have a slightly higher R value, but the reality is I don't think I'm going to notice a difference between R10 in the middle or R7.5. If it was 7.5 the whole way through, I'm pretty sure that'd be plenty for what we're doing. It's likely more than what I'm getting out of the walls. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you got any questions, throw a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.